So of course, if you've been following the channel at all, you would realize that I am a huge Batman fan. He's definitely my favorite superhero out of all of them. And it's definitely my favorite film franchise out of all of them. I love revisiting them quite a bit. And so I'm very excited to kind of start this little project that I want to be working on in between now and when the Batman gets released in 2022, unfortunately. But I wanted to go through and I wanted to review all the live action films, and if I do that in a quick enough time frame, then maybe pick off some of my absolute favorite animated films as well. And yes, if you've been following the channel, I have covered Batman 1989 before. It was actually the first video that we did on this channel. It was 10 reasons why I love this film. And I just really wanted to fit it more into the context of the series that I have planned. And plus, I think we're going to do a better overall video than that video was. We've just got a little bit more experience now, 7 months into the channel. So I'm absolutely excited to get into this video and get into this review. So as people far more eloquent than I am have basically put, Batman 1989 is a game changer for comic book movies. It showed that Batman could be the serious, dark character that he was meant to be, and kind of moved him past the pow, zap, and wham of the 1960s TV show. It is absolutely, to me, one of my absolute favorite films of all time. I think its influence is still felt through to this day, and especially in Batman films. It seems like everything is kind of, whether it was the Nolan trilogy, whether it's Ben Affleck, and whether Robert Pattinson moving forward, it's a film, and especially with Batman Returns as well, that each version of Batman that comes out kind of has to move through Burton territory in order to find its own path. First thing I really love about this film is the acting performances in this. Tim Burton assembled a fantastic cast, and they just chew the scenery and they give wonderful performances. First, we've got to start with Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne and Batman. Bruce in this is a very quiet kind of individual and very introspective, but he's also prone to kind of having an outburst or two and thinking about the "you want to get nuts" scene. It's just fantastic. And his version of Batman is very brooding, and I know that there's been some talk about like some criticisms toward this film and like Batman Returns, like, well, this Batman, it's all about the villains. Well, his Batman is not the type of Batman that's going to draw a whole bunch of attention to himself giving big speeches in the Batcave. That's just inherently what Tim Burton had in mind. But I think Michael Keaton does a fantastic job in this role. Like I said, there's moments where he has to act really wild. There's moments where he has to be very introspective. There's also a lot of great moments where he's just sitting in a chair thinking, and through that you can see a lot of nuance in his facial, the way his face looks and everything. So you can tell that there's a lot going through that brain besides just I'm sitting here staring off into space. I just think he's absolutely phenomenal in this. There's a reason why I ranked him so high on my top 6 Batman actors video. I ranked him actually number 2, just ahead of Christian Bale and just behind Kevin Conroy. So he absolutely earns it, especially when you take into effect the fact that he was so ridiculed when the film, whenever it was announced that he was going to be playing Batman. Everybody thought it was going to be a comedic Batman. They had no idea that he was going to be able to just turn in this wonderfully dramatic and serious performance, and he knocks it out of the park. Also, of course, you have to go back next in line. You got to look at the Joker and Jack Nicholson's wonderful performance. He is so delightfully crazy in this, and his laugh is great. And sometimes you hear the criticism. I don't know why this is even a criticism. Well, it's just Jack Nicholson being Jack Nicholson. Well, that's perfect for the Joker, in my opinion. And I know it was very in after Heath Ledger came out, and even like after Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal here last year, to kind of say, well, Jack Nicholson's Joker is not as fantastic. No, it is fantastic. It is a very worthy and definitive portrayal of the character, and I still love it to this day. I still love watching it to this day. He has moments where he's very creepy and insane. He has moments where he's very dry and and droll almost. But he also, I mean, he's also all crazy clown throughout the whole thing, and I mean, he brings that gravitas that only Jack Nicholson can bring to the role. Um, Also, a lot of the Kim Basinger, I think she does a very good job as Vicky Vale in this. I think in the late '80s, there's still just a bit of that damsel in distress going on, but she's also a very tough-minded reporter who's not scared to kind of get in there, get into the thick of things, and mix it up either. So I think she gave a great portrayal. Robert Wool as Alexander Knox, he's clearly comic relief, which is fine. I think in a movie like that, it's kind of dark like this, you need some levity, and I think that's exactly what he provides, and he's absolutely fantastic in that role. Um, Billy D. Williams, I really want to take some time to talk about him because um, I thought he was perfect for the Harvey Dent kind of role, in that you think of a smooth talking, sincere politician, because I mean, he's the district attorney. I mean, there's inherently something very politic about that. Um, I think he's absolutely perfect for that role, and I think it's the one of the greatest crimes in cinema that he didn't get to develop that turn into Two Face. I think he would have created such an interesting version of Two Face, and he got robbed, straight up got robbed. And he's had some great roles over the years. Of course, Lando, he'll always be Lando Calrissian, but I just, had we had a Batman 3 with Tim Burton directing, Michael Keaton starring, more than likely, everything I've read is it would have centered around Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent and his turning into Two Face. So it's such a crime. I've always said, since it also looks like that, uh, or since it's pretty much all but been confirmed that Michael Keaton is returning as Batman in the Flash film that's coming out here in a couple of years, that if they wanted to tell some stories in between Batman Returns and the events of that film, it would be great if they did some animated movies, very similar to what Adam West did for the 1966 Batman show. Adam West and Burt Ward, they came back as Batman and Robin. I think it would be fantastic to do that. Have Michael Keaton do the voice work, and then also bring in Billy D. Williams to finally tell that story and get it out proper. I really hope that they do that one of these days. But he is absolutely fantastic in it. And Jack Palance, I mean, he as Carl Grissom, the mob boss. I mean, he is just a sinister, evil dude. And when he finally gets his comeuppance at the Joker's hands, you know, it's almost a hero moment for the Joker, even though the Joker is definitely the villain of this film. But I mean, he just plays it wonderfully, like mustache twirling. I mean, he's just crazy, evil. I mean, he's that, what you typically think of, stereotypical mob boss, and he plays it very well. One thing that this film also has going for it is the wonderful score by Danny Elfman. And I mean, that Batman March is so definitive. It's so wonderful. It's still what I think of whenever I think of the Batman music. That defines Batman to me. And I mean, just throughout the film, I mean, it's wonderful flourishes and everything there as well. I also really, I mean, the Batmobile is another kind of iconic design in this film. Um, I mean, it's again, like I think I had several, I think I had a couple of Batmobiles from one from Batman, one from Batman Returns that I played with so much as a kid. And I mean, it's very iconic. Uh, One thing I will have to point to is definitely the um, the suit looks great. The cowl looks great. However, it is stiff. I mean, that was really the first time that they were trying to do something like that. So some of the fight scenes don't work, and he definitely has to do that superhero turn where he like doesn't move his head. He just kind of does like those motions. Um, but I still think it works overall. You just have to remember when it was coming out. It was coming out in the late '80s. They don't do a whole. I mean, I can't think of anything where it was like effect driven. Maybe some miniature work, but there's two pretty, as far as the design and kind of the effects work and everything. There's a couple of glaring scenes that kind of stick out to me as far as um, the animations. It wasn't really CGI at the time or whatever. That just looks really poor. One is at the beginning of the film when the family that's the tourists that are visiting Gotham, they get mugged, and there's a shot of him like overlooking the city, and it's just all like it's kind of like up above, and then he like walks like back into the building, and the shadows done up. That looks really poorly animated. However, they did that. I mean, again, you just have to kind of have to figure the time that it was done, and then also the Joker's death as he's falling down. That's also very comically bad looking, but. Again, you just have to kind of consider that this was the time period. I still think overall the film holds up very well from a look standpoint. One thing that I particularly love is that it's the way they set the film is Batman. It's not an origin film, but it is Batman at the beginning of his time. Gotham City really doesn't know he exists. A lot of the police think he's a myth. So he's clearly at the beginning of that time. And I think it's really cool to kind of watch it go from him being a myth to being Gotham's savior. I think that's a really cool journey throughout the film. I love the intro with how they introduce Batman. I've said before he looks more like it almost plays like a slasher film at the beginning with those criminals up and the way he kind of sneaks up on them and the way that like they shoot him and he comes back to life. It's almost like a Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees kind of feel to it in a way. And I think it works very well that Batman's this is not a man, but he's this creature kind of thing. I really think that works well. One thing that I don't like, I'm not a big fan of Batman in this film. It's maybe not outright, but it's very strongly implied that he kills people. In the where he goes through Axis Chemicals toward the back half of the film. I mean, he's blowing stuff up. The Joker's henchmen are everywhere. It's very strongly implied that they didn't all get out. So I mean, that's there. And then there's also the scene at the end where the Joker's getting away. He's on the ladder trying to climb up into the helicopter, and he shoots the grapple gun and has the where basically it ties the Joker to this gargoyle statue, and the gargoyle statue falls off, and then he can't support the weight of it, and he ends up falling to his death. That to me is a very big gray area. You could say that he killed the Joker. You could also just say that was just he was just trying to get him to stop, and in the end that led to Joker dying. I don't know. I think it's kind of ambiguous, kind of similar to Two-Face's death in The Dark Knight. Kind of that similar. Like, you could make an argument that Batman killed him. You could also just make the argument that it was just kind of like an accidental kind of thing. But still, like, it's still very, and I think it even further, like, it really cements that in Batman Returns. So maybe that's a case of like that kind of more strongly implying the things you see in the first Batman, maybe. I don't know. One thing I'm not a fan of, and I think this is one that I can count on a lot of people agreeing with me on, is Vicky Vale did not earn getting to go into the Batcave as quickly as she did. I mean, like, they have a couple of dates. She spends the night one time, and all of a sudden Alfred's like, "Oh yeah, we should just tell the truth and get her in the Batcave." And Bruce is like thinking about it, which is fine, but then Alfred just lets her in. Like, I think I can't remember I think the screenwriter, I can't remember what his name was, but he was like, a lot of people blamed him for it, but there was kind of like a writer's strike going on at the time, and he didn't write that scene. And he was like, "Oh, trust me." He's like, "I didn't do that. If I had done that, that'd been Alfred's last day at Wayne Manor." Like, I mean, it's just like, okay, this is this big secret, and you're letting a reporter in, even though you have a relationship. Don't know if I buy that. But what can I say? It's a movie about a guy dressed as a bat fighting crime. Whatever. Like a lot of great Batman movies and a lot of great Batman stories, Batman the Animated Series did this really well. Also, is that there's this kind of like timelessness quality. It could be in the 40s or 50s. It could be in the current day. Just kind of the way they did the designs and different things. But then you also have Prince's music in it. And don't get me wrong, I love Prince. He's a genius, absolute genius, and this world is a much worse place without him in it. But his music in this is so jarring with everything else that's going on. And this is coming from someone, every time Party Man comes on during the Joker's museum piece, I love that part. But there's certain parts of it that just, I don't know, it just feels very disjointed sometimes. I guess it's just really jarring when it comes down to it. And another thing, kind of at the end of the film, they had this letter from Batman where he's like, should the forces of evil ever rise again, call me. It's like, that just doesn't seem like a very Batman thing. Batman's not going to be writing letters and having them read aloud. I mean, he's Batman. He's off to fight crime another day. Also, they kind of make it sound like, oh, well, we've rounded up all the crime in Gotham and blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, like, Gotham is such a continuing thing with crime. It's association with crime. It's always happening. It's a cesspool, and it will always be a cesspool. So, like I said, those are some things I didn't like. But I mean, there's so much more to love. I mean, from the performances, from the kind of chemistry between Nicholson and Keaton as adversaries. It's just absolutely comes flying off the screen, and it's just wonderful. There's so much to like, and the thing that you have to realize is we have the benefit of being able to go back and redo Batman's story however many times. It's very easy to look and realize that this was a almost 10-year journey to get this character to the big screen. And the things they had to the things they had to go through to get to this point, and to be able to have crafted a film as good as it is, it's a huge accomplishment. And it's still one of my favorite films to revisit. I mean, just this year, I've probably watched it, I think, 3 times now. I mean, it's a film I continuously go back to. Does it have its weak points? Does it have its things I can criticize? Absolutely. I mean, again, no film is perfect, but this is an influential film for a reason, and it deserves all the respect in the world, and I'm just thankful that we have it, and they're still able to go back and enjoy it. And just because we have new versions coming out doesn't mean we can't appreciate it for the classic that it is. All right, so I would love to hear from you next about this, about Batman 1989. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. I would also love to hear about, whether or not you believe there are better versions of it. Do you like the Dark Knight trilogy better? Do you like Ben Affleck as Batman? Do you think Robert Pattinson's gonna, be amazing in the new version of Batman that's coming out? Please let me know in the comments. I would love any discussions about Batman. I'll go back and forth on him all day. So please feel free to leave that in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you like what we're doing here at Dees Nerds, and also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Guys, we appreciate everything. Appreciate all the kind messages, all the views, all the likes. I mean, it's just been amazing so far. We're definitely enjoying doing this channel. Definitely something we're going to keep going. And look for our, I don't know quite when I'll get to my Batman Returns review to kind of keep that going in this series, but this is definitely going to be an ongoing series. So appreciate you guys, and y'all have a great, safe rest of the day. Bye.